Welcome to PhotoshopUser TV, brought to you by the National Association of Photoshop Professionals. And now, here are your hosts, the Photoshop guys.
Hi everybody, welcome back to PhotoshopUser TV, brought to you by the National Association of Photoshop Professionals, the fine people that bring you PhotoshopUser magazine with the retro look to it this last issue.
Retro look. It's a very retro time.
That's cool.
Yeah, no, I like it a lot.
So you can get a subscription to that magazine. It's not really a subscription, it's actually a membership. You can join the NAPP and you will get that magazine, was it like 10 times a year?
10 times a year,
Oh,
absolutely,
crap.
yes.
So you can get that magazine 10 times a year as well as other cool discounts and all kinds of training and stuff on the NAP member website.
All kinds of cool.
Thanks for joining us again this week. My name is Matt Klaskowski and I am joined here with Mr. Corey Barker, the Photoshop laddie.
Hello, hello,
I
hello.
don't call you the Photoshop laddie anymore.
No, kind of grew up, you know. I graduated on. I'm just there now.
So we all had like nicknames or whatever when we started. I don't know what it was. It was just everybody's got to have a name and a nickname. And
yeah, rocking the house key was good for a while.
Yeah.
Really says that
See,
anymore.
we grew out of that one too.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So we all had our own.
Anyway, we're going to get right to it this week. Corey's got a tutorial for you.
I do.
Jump in here?
Actually, it's, again, Hollywood inspired. I saw the movie Argo this weekend, which was really good. Haven't had a chance to see it, but what I liked, there was this continuing effect in the movie of this kind of shredded paper look, and it was in the title and everything like that. So I found an easy, quick, pretty cool way to achieve that, really in no time at all.
By the way, just talking about movies, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I'm going to. You know what I saw last week?
What?
Was it Zero Dark 30?
Yeah, oh.
God, see that movie.
It's
that
good.
movie is freaking good.
That was a really great story.
That was a great movie. Yeah, not really what I thought it was, but it's still a great movie.
And
anyway.
It's not as bad. There's a lot of people talking about it, how bad it is. We're like, it's really not as bad as you think. You know,
There's one little scene. Don't take your kids to it, but
oh no, certainly
younger kids, that is.
But anyway,
sorry.
Back to that. No, that was our movie review of the week. Check them out. All right. So I'm just going to start in this blank document, and on a blank layer, I'm just going to take the rectangular marquee tool and draw a very tiny sliver of a selection down the entire height of the document right there. And I'm just going to fill that with 50% gray. Just go ahead and do a gray fill there. There we go. Now, I'm going to go ahead and take the fill down to 0 because I don't want to see the actual shape here. What I only want to see is the shadow that I'm going to create on here. So double click on the layer and open up the layer styles, and we'll add a simple drop shadow. And look, there it appears. So we're seeing just the shadow. We do not see the shape at all. So I'm going to click OK. Now I'm going to make a selection of that object. Just hold down the Command key, click directly on that layer, loads it as an active selection. We're going to do a step and repeat here. So I'm going to do Option Command T on the Mac. That would be Alt Control T on Windows. And I'm just going to hold down the Shift key and use my right arrow and just nudge this over a few steps like that, creating a pretty big gap in between that first one. And I'll just press Enter. Now I'm going to hold down Shift Option Command and then press T over and over so it just creates an array of those going all the way across the document. Okay? Now, press Command J. I'm going to make a duplicate of that layer. I'm going to press Command T. Or no, I don't. I'm actually just going to go to the Edit menu and go to Transform and choose Warp. And now I'm just going to warp this a little bit so it looks like those are just a little bit out of alignment, just like you have loose papers just kind of hanging. You wouldn't expect them to be just completely straight lines, so we'll just kind of have that like that. There we go. And we'll do the same to the original one. I'm actually going to reselect that one and just warp it a tiny bit. And we'll just do that there. Let's do one more duplicate. I'm going to do another Command J and then again warp it ever so slightly so we see those little shreds of paper. Isn't that cool?
Oh, look at that.
Isn't that just creepy weird? And we'll something like that. Okay. So I can tweak that a little bit, but I'll just keep going here. So what I'm going to do now is just make a duplicate of this document. Just go to Image and go to Duplicate. And this is going to be my displacement map. So I'm going to go ahead and flatten this. Let's go to Layer and go to Flatten. Now here's a cool trick I discovered as I was doing this. Instead of saving it as it is, and with all those little shadows, soft shadows in there, I'm going to go into the Image menu to Adjustments and choose Threshold. That's going to force those lines to a black and white, just very straight lines like that. And that looks pretty good. So now let's just save this document, and we'll call it Displace 1. We're going to use that as a displacement map on our text. So back in our original document, let's go and I've got some text here already created. Here's my fake title to my movie. So I want to make that text look like it's actually part of that paper, that shredded paper that's falling there. So I'm going to go to the filter, distort, and choose displace. Now I want to obviously distort it more vertically than I do horizontally, so I'm going to have that vertical scale set a little bit higher, and the horizontal scale I'm just going to have it around 3. I'm actually going to bring that down to 2. And then I'll click OK. It's going to ask me what displacement map I want to use. So I'm just going to use that displace one that I created and click Open. And there you can see it's distorting that text in there. And just nudge that a little bit. If I turn these layers off, you can see what it's done there. And even that itself is kind of cool. Look at that. It's kind of neat.
Yeah.
But added to this graphic, it looks like that. Now, to finish it off, I have a texture here. Who can call it finished without a cool texture to add? So
we need textures.
So I'm going to take this texture, just drag and drop it on over. It's just this kind of rough, kind of rocky texture. Now I'm going to place that layer beneath the text layer. Notice here in the layers panel, I've got it sitting below. I'm going to change the blend mode of that texture layer to multiply. Now it's kind of colorizing that, or giving me a texture to that paper. But I am going to change the color a little bit. So a little hue saturation adjustment, just press Command or Control U. And we'll have it kind of a yellow, because old paper has this kind of yellowing to it. So let's kind of give this age look to it like that. And then we're done. No, we're not done. I have one more thing to do.
Dun, dun, dun.
And this is that feature that always seems to elude people. If you double click on the layer with the text on it here. Here in the blending options, we have the blend if sliders.
Oh,
now,
yeah.
If I go down here and choose underlying layer, hold down my Option key and split the sliders, watch what happens to the text. Oh, that texture is starting to bleed through a little bit.
Yeah, it's like more randomized.
Yes, exactly. And it's allowing it. Because that texture itself is so random, it gives me this kind of like bleeding effect, like the angle there is nice and aged. And there we have our shredded paper look.
Cool.
Created simply from layer styles and displacement maps. So, yeah, pretty much from scratch. It's a lot of fun to play around with. And again, of course, that displacement map, you'll notice, is applied to a smart object. So I can go back in here and adjust that setting if I want. So if I wanted to make it more extreme of a distortion, I could do this and go, so. A lot of fun to play around with.
Awesome. Very nice, Mr. Barker.
Thank you, sir.
My tutorial is nowhere near as good as that. So in order to spread this stuff out, we're going to take a very quick break. And when we come back, we actually have a guest tutorial from someone that was in our studio a while back.
Absolutely.
So
very
we'll
cool.
see you back here in just a minute.
Nice.
I can't wait to do this again.
Well, hi everyone. We are back here with me, Corey Barker, and Matt Kluskowski. He's got a very cool tutorial up for us in just a moment. But first, we have a very special I call him 00 Glenn.
00 Glenn.
00 Glenn. But Glenn Dewis is a photographer out in London, or he's not really in London, actually, is he?
The UK.
The UK. He's in the UK, but fabulous guy. We just had him in the studio here a few weeks ago, and we had him come in and do some special guest tutorials for us here for Photoshop TV. So check out this very cool technique from Mr. Glenn Dewis. Well, hi everyone, Corey Barker here on the set of Photoshop User TV, and we have a very special guest in the studio this week, all the way from Oxford, England. Some of you may know him. Glenn Dewis, how are you?
Very well, Corey.
You've traveled all the way over to here just to show us some stuff.
9.5 hours.
We are so grateful. If you, again, like you said, some of you may know him. You actually taught at Photoshop World just recently in DC in the Expo, and has done some stuff for Photoshop User, of course, as well. Have you?
I've done for the Photoshop User magazine.
Yes, exactly. So
Yeah.
you've done quite a few things out there. And of course, if you don't know who Glenn is, he is a photographer, trainer, retoucher, all those great things that we love about Photoshop that we do, and does it over there in England. So tell us a little bit about that. What are you doing over there lately?
Predominantly at the moment, Corey, I'm doing a lot of workshops. That seems to be the main kind of stay of my work at the moment. I'm teaching 3 different kinds of workshops. We've got half day, 1 day, and 2 day, and that's teaching basics of Photoshop through to doing composites, like the kind of thing that we're going to go through in a short while. So,
absolutely. And of course, they are, biggest proponents of the NAP organization over there in England. You guys are really pushing it over there. You and Dave Clayton.
Myself and Dave, yes.
Yes, absolutely. So there are big voices over there for NAP over in England, and we really appreciate that. We certainly I want to try and get over there sometime. You guys got to get
You've got to come over.
I want to get over there.
We're pushing for it.
Love it. I really want to check it out. But we've certainly got Glenn in town to do a lot of stuff for us, and we've managed to grab him from his busy schedule to come in and show us a few things here in Photoshop. So what have you got for us today?
Well, I've got something to do with compositing, funnily enough, Corey.
Well, that's something we never get here on this show. So.
Okay. Now, this is a little technique that I use sometimes when I've actually finished the photo shoot. I've got the picture in the computer, and sometimes I'll look at it and think, do you know what? I wish I'd tried maybe a different lighting setup. Maybe there weren't highlights where I wanted them and this kind of stuff. So this is a very, very quick and simple technique where I can add in extra highlights onto our subject here. So this is a guy called Sean Stafford, again a composite. So what I've done, this is almost like the end product here, but if I just turn off these 2 top layers, so we go to the actual layer where Sean has been cut out. Now I want to add in a few more kind of highlights going down this side of his body here. The light, when I did it, it wasn't quite giving the kind of punch that I needed. So here's how I generally will do that now in Photoshop. Where we've got the layer containing the cutout, just to the right-hand side here, where it says Layer 4, I'll double-click to bring up the Layer Style dialog box. And I'll then use something like the bevel and emboss. And what we can do then is here, if I've got the depth here, I can bring up the depth, and straight away we can see it brings up this like a highlight coming down the side here. Now the great thing is, down just where it says shading, we've got this disc, and we can move this disc around here, and that's almost like think of like the little end of it here as being the sun. So wherever that's positioned, that's the direction where the sun is,
like
and the light,
exactly,
that's where the light will be coming in. So I want the light coming in from this side here, so I'll put the disc over to the right-hand side. So I can play around with these sliders here to increase or decrease how I want this highlight to be. And at the bottom here it says shadow mode. We don't want any shadows, we're only wanting highlights. So I want to get rid of that completely. And we'll just click OK. Now at the moment we can see that we've got this highlight, needs finishing off, but we've got a nice highlight coming down the side here, but it's affecting everything. So when I turn that on and off, we can see it on his hair and all that kind of stuff. We don't want it there. So I can now put this bevel and emboss onto its own layer. Now I can either right click or just hold down my control key and click on bevel and emboss, and it brings up this drop down menu here. And if I say create layers, it'll then put that effect onto its own layer. Now what I'll do is just 2 things I'll need to do. I'm going to first of all convert that to a smart filter. Okay, obviously gives us the flexibility. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a black layer mask to completely hide the effect now, and just get a white brush, making sure that it's really soft, and I'll just come in and I'll just paint it down the sides just here to bring in where I want the highlights. So a little bit down here and a little bit on this arm here. And then what I'll do is, to finish off, I'll just then go to here and I'll go filter, blur, and Gaussian blur.
Well, it really depends on where in the world you're saying it, but I guess we say Gaussian.
Gaussian blur, okay, and I'll just bring up this here just to soften it just a little bit more so it blends in just a little bit. So if we can turn that on and off, All right, so click OK, and then now I can see I've got a highlight how I want it. And obviously because it's on its own layer, if I want to, I can just reduce the opacity down just a little bit so that it kind of blends in exactly how I want it. And that's how I'll just generally add in extra highlights when they weren't quite how I wanted them during the photo shoot.
That is fantastic. You know, and I'm always saying this is, especially about layer styles, is that, you know, there's people have these, you know, oh, well, I don't need a drop shadow for text or any of these very simple things. I'm always saying, I honestly think they should be layer effects rather than layer styles, because, you know, I'm always telling people, you know, don't think of it as a style, think of it as an image effect. Because I'll do color overlays and pattern overlays and all these different things, and it's just using layer styles in a much more creative way. And, you know, we all need creative ways to do stuff. Now, my computer is booting up. I actually had Glenn's website up a moment ago, and it just decided to restart on its own. It got bored, not with your stuff, of course, but it just decided to restart. But I wanted to show up your site. Maybe you can pull it up on yours.
Okay, let's bring it up here.
And just show people where they might be able to find out more about the great Glenn.
Okay, so let's just shut these down here. The website address is actually glyndewis.com, and you'll find when people go to it, it'll show up as glyndewisblog.com. That's because I used to run a blog and a site as two completely separate entities, but I found that the let's have a look. There we go. It's coming up now. But I found that the actual main website was just kind of sitting there, and the activity was happening on the blog. So I kind of wanted to merge the two together. So.
Oh, absolutely.
But this is my website here. I generally update it 5 days a week. Have a weekend off. And it's just a mixture of kind of like who I am, things I'm getting up to, tutorials, behind the scenes stuff, and all that kind of stuff.
And that's another great thing about Glenn is that, you know, he's got some phenomenal photography on there, but every now and then he shares his secrets. That's what makes things great. It's like he actually goes in there and shows you how he does a few things and everything like that. And really, we're really definitely. Oh, I saw some dancing in DC. Of course, there's always fun stuff on there as well. So, all right. Well, thank you very much. And actually, we're probably going to have you do some more stuff in the coming weeks. Absolutely. And be sure to look out for more stuff coming from Glenn over on Kelby Training, I believe, and certainly in the magazine and maybe in future Photoshop worlds. So, all right, back to you guys in the studio.
All right, we are back. Photoshop User TV. Mr. Corey Barker, thank you to Glenn Dewis. That was
absolutely.
Glenn rocks. So,
Glenn is awesome.
He did some classes for Kelby Training. Of course, yes. Which will be live very soon.
And he'll be at Photoshop World in Orlando coming up. So
yeah, we're doing a. He's doing a pre-comp. Oh. You know,
and you're back.
I muted my microphone, so sorry. You probably just heard a bunch of silence before. We were talking about Glenn Dewis. Hopefully, you heard a little bit just through Corey's microphone. But Glenn is going to be at Photoshop World, and I'm teaching a pre-conference workshop the day before Photoshop World on compositing.
Nice.
And I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, man, it's going to be hard to get like 50 people in there moving. I'm like, who can help with this? And I'm thinking, Glenn Dewis can help with this. So Glenn is actually teaching the pre-con with me, and we got everybody that joins the pre-con will get my compositing book for free too.
How about, dude?
I know.
It just made the value awesome.
Fun stuff. All right. I got a tutorial here.
You do.
All right, so it's just kind of a quick tip. So when you use, we always talk about the wonder and the power of the quick selection tool, right? You know, it snaps to these edges, and I'm just for sake of time, you know, I'll go through here, but I'm not going to do you can see how well it works, right? Well, when you click on Refine Edge, up in the top options bar, you can see glaringly obvious all the places that you missed. So I can cancel out of here and go back in and kind of reselect some of those areas. But the whole point of this tip is, if you look under View, I always tell people when they're doing a composite, and I know you've kind of thought the same way, which is try to get your subject onto the background that they're going to be on. Pretty quickly, because that can affect your selection edge. You may sit there and you may be tediously working on hair when you're going to take a person and put them on a dark background, and you won't see that little fringe that's around their hair or bright
waste
background.
A lot of time.
So you end up wasting a lot of time on a selection you don't have to. There's this little thing called layers down here. All right, you know, there's black, there's white, there's a little mask, but there's one called layers. Right now I don't have any layers in this document, it's just the background layer. So what you can do is you can take your image and you can load it into another document. And I'm gonna hide it here, and you can see I've already got this built. And I did this on the NAP member website. You can do a search for compositing tutorial. But how I did this all on the NAP member website. So there's the background that's already in place. here's the football player on top. So as I start and I go and I start to make a selection, all right, and again, just for sake of time, I'm gonna do it really, really quick. The whole point of this is that when I click on Refine Edge, if I change that to layers when there actually are layers there, now I get to see my whatever I'm selecting on the background that it's going to be on.
Absolutely.
So the only trick is just move it there first. Rather than make the selection here and then move it over to a different document,
tweak it. Yeah.
move it to the other document first, get it in place, and then do your selection, change it to layers. That way you can see exactly what you're selecting.
Very, very cool.
All right.
I love it. All right.
Cool. I guess it's contest time.
Yes.
So we have a copy of On One Software's Perfect.
No, we're getting told to go to break.
We're told to go to break first. So we're going to take a very quick break.
So don't see it just yet.
We're going to take a very quick break, and then we're going to come back and talk about our contest. We'll see you right back here.
All right.
Hi everybody, I'm Scott Kelby, President of the National Association of Photoshop Professionals. Of course, we just call it the NAPP, or just NAP for short. And I'm here to tell you a little bit about NAP and how for more than 15 years it's become the place where people go to get really good at Photoshop. Now, one of the key benefits of joining NAP is that you get Photoshop User Magazine. It's a print-based magazine packed cover to cover with step-by-step tutorials, real-world articles, and feature stories from literally the very best Photoshop trainers in the world today. As the editor, it's my job to make certain that we teach you the most important techniques and the most requested features, and that we do all of it in plain English, straight to the point, and we teach it in a way that makes it really stick. Each issue is pretty thick, so it's kind of like getting a Photoshop book mailed right to your door 10 times a year. As a NAP member, you also receive exclusive access to the NAP member training site. It's the largest and most complete Photoshop online training resource of its kind. You'll have access to thousands of online tutorials and complete start-to-finish Photoshop training classes from the best in the business. Also, brand new with your membership, now we have full-length online training classes on Photoshop, so you can learn 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, no matter where you are in the world, from the world's very best instructors. We also have 3 different tech support help desks on Photoshop and Lightroom and on Gear, where you get your questions answered directly by our experts, one-on-one, right when you need it. Another big benefit of being a NAP member is that you'll save money on everything from software purchases to Macintosh and PC hardware, from plugins to printing and everything in between, even stuff like hotels and rental cars. It's the power that comes with being part of an association with more than 70,000 members around the world. And because of our large membership, we've been able to negotiate special deals and discounts and special offers exclusively for our members. And we hear from members all the time that say, you know what, I saved so much on my first deal it paid for my entire membership. NAP also produces the Photoshop World Conference and Expo. It's the world's largest Photoshop event where members from all around the world come together for 3 days of amazing classes and networking taught by the best trainers on the planet. Best of all, NAP membership is incredibly affordable. For just $99 a year, you can have all of this and more. This is where people come to get really good at Photoshop, and I'm inviting you to join me here at NAP right now and start learning today.
Okay, this time we really are back and we're ready for our contest.
We're nice and rested now that we can get into the contest.
Yeah, we're actually ready for our contest. So, as we were saying before, we have On One's Perfect Photo Suite 7.
Yes.
Very cool. That's awesome.
Yes,
they did a killer job with that.
Yeah, they really did this time
It's
around.
integrated all the products. It's one of the biggest complaints I hear about people who use a lot of plugins out there is that they have to go into like 3 or 4 different windows for all the different plugins.
Yeah.
So they did a brilliant job, I think, of combining them all into one suite.
It's one.
And when they use suite, it actually is one window.
Yeah.
And then you can just bounce between. It's almost like Lightroom.
I was gonna say, sounds like Lightroom, and you just bounce around each interface there. So,
And
we
then
also have
the Illustrator Wow book. I love this book. So this
I
is
love
one of
the
my
Wow
first
series, yes.
Illustrator books
Yes.
ever.
Yep.
And it still continues. I mean, I was learning from this book. Gosh, it had to have been 10, 15 years ago.
You know,
So
the WoW series in general has been, both in Photoshop and Illustrator, are great books. They're really good. I mean, especially the Illustrator one. I've really gotten a lot out of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Anyway.
and it's not just the basic training. It's just like, here's what this does in Illustrator.
Let's see.
It really shows you how to do really cool stuff in it.
yeah. It's just it's a fun book to flip. But anyway, Sharon's done a great job with it, and she continues to do a great job with it. And you can win those prizes by going to kelbytv.com and go to the episode. This Photoshop User TV episode. What number is this?
This will be 333, I believe. Is that correct?
331.
331.
Go to episode 331 and just leave a comment. Right, just leave it. Say anything, whatever it happens to be. Just leave a comment there, and you will get entered. And to make sure on the back end you put your email address, it doesn't get shown to the public. But that's how we'll contact you later on.
Winners are chosen at random, so no matter how clever you might be, we're still going to pick. But please.
But I can tell you this: if you leave a negative comment, I can guarantee you with 100% certainty you will not win. Sorry, just wanted to say that.
It's too true. It's actually being
we'll read it. It might inadvertently get taken out of the random number generator.
And it doesn't count if you say something negative and put "just kidding" after that, because that counts. Okay.
All right. Anyway, folks, thanks so much for joining us here, Corey. Great tutorial. Thanks, man.
Appreciate it. Thank you much.
And thanks to Glyn for when he did stop in. He rocks. And make sure you check out his website and everything like that. He's got a lot of cool stuff coming.
He does. He has a lot of really cool. I've even learned a lot from Glyn. He's very cool stuff. So.
And if you're a NAP member, we keep kind of trying to drill this point home. If you're a NAP member, make sure you check out the NAP member website. We've done a lot of stuff on there, and lately, so we've just added online training to the NAP member website. There's like 20 some online training classes there. Full training.
Full training, yeah, absolutely.
Full training, start to finish. As long as you're a NAP member, you can go in and watch as many times as you want.
And current members have been eating it up. They're really loving what we're doing.
Yeah.
There's only going to be more added as we go, so it's a good thing. It's a good start. Yeah.
So if you're a NAP member, make sure you check that out because it's a key part of your NAP membership. Folks, thank you so much for watching. My name is Matt Laskowski, Corey Barker. We'll see you again very soon.
Bye-bye.